I'm here at Cantor Fitzgerald's headquarters in Midtown Manhattan for their annual charity day to commemorate the September 11th attacks that happened 24 years ago and the initiatives that grew out of it, the philanthropic initiatives that grew out of it under the tutelage of Howard Lutnick and now being taken forward by his sons, Brandon Lutnick and Kyle Lutnick, the chairman and executive vice chairman of Cantor Fitzgerald. I'm pleased to be with you today, and obviously it is a day that I think for both of you, while still very young at the time that the attacks happened, there's a personal story here that runs from your father through you and most likely to the people who will come after you. Talk about that day, Kyle, a day that we all remember, a very famous photo with you and your father taking you to kindergarten.
Well, Roman, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Before we dive in, we want to make sure we call attention to the terrible events that happened yesterday. Charlie Kirk was a good friend of the family, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the Kirk family. It really was terrible what happened yesterday.
Definitely was horrible, and our prayers with his wife and young children.
So just to set things in perspective, 24 years ago today, I was standing outside my kindergarten with my father. It was about 2 minutes before the planes hit the tower. And I still have some recollection of it, being in the kindergarten and my dad having to run out to go to the building. You know, on that day, we lost 658 employees on the 101st to the 105th floors. And it was really, really terrible that we keep that energy with us here today.
We lost our Uncle Gary Lutnick, who was 36, our dad's brother, our godfather, Doug Gardner, our dad's best friend, who was 39. And it was really just, the worst day in history. But what you really see behind us is, the Cantor trading floor, and this is what really gets us through the day. After the trading day today, we are going to be at the 9/11 Memorial with our community, our friends and family. It doesn't represent the almost 3,000 lives that were taken that day, but this Cantor community is really close, stayed really strong, and our employees are what really, keep us together and get us through the day. All money raised, a day's revenue will all go to charity today, and it's really, really just the best way to turn something tragic into something beautiful.
When we talk about what started all this, Howard Lutnick putting down $1 million to effectively start this turning into an annual event. You bring in celebrities, we help demand the phone banks, raise money. What types of charities are you primarily focused on right now?
It's more than 150 charities today. It changes every year. We have celebrity ambassadors that come represent charities, and 24 years later, the Cantor Relief Fund was started to take care of those 9/11 families. Our father promised to give 25% of all of his profits for the first 5 years and pay for the family's health care for the next 10, which ended up being a combined $180 million promise that he kept and fulfilled for the families.
And we have a continued promise here today where any children or anyone related to anyone that was lost in the towers on that day have a standing job offer here at the firm. And we have 10 individuals here working at the firm today. And it's really incredible that we get to help them either continue their career here or launch their career into the financial services world.
24 years, and now this company that you now helm, as well as the charity, is at a bit of an inflection point. You've taken over for your father as the chairman and executive chairman of Cantor Fitzgerald. You've seen how much it's been built back up since 9/11. What did you have, a couple hundred brokers back then coming out of that, and you have 2,000 now.
And today, across the three companies, Newmark, BGC, and Cantor, we have about 14,000 employees globally.
How much do you expect that to grow?
I expect it to grow for the time. The joke that Kyle and I make is that we have no political aspirations, so we're going to be in our seats longer than our father was in his. He was at Cantor for 40 years, ran the firm for 30. But it's really a testament, to the leadership, our dad built here and installed here. These guys, really take a lot of the weight off our shoulders, and we're, super honored and glad to be a part of an incredible executive team.
This year, you've had a pretty good run when it comes to underwriting. Last time I checked, at least through August, you were the #1 underwriter for U.S. global IPOs. You've been involved in Bullish and eToro. I believe you have a couple others potentially that could price this week, like Gemini and Legence. What's driving that resurgence?
Our father always said when the market's cold is the perfect time to invest. And we've put a lot of time and energy into growing our investment bank under the leadership of Sage Kelly. And doing new offerings has really been sort of a good place for us, hitting the markets hard.
Yeah, we've doubled our investment bank size over the last 18 months. And again, I really give credit to the team we've built here. We're a private investment bank, and that's very rare in Wall Street. So when we commit to an industry, we commit, skate to where the puck is going. I think, our crypto efforts really shown that. It's our ability just to commit to the sector before everyone else, and you're just really seeing it pay off. And again, these guys are everything.
And you anticipate keeping this private?
I do.
What's the advantage of that?
The advantage is when you're a great company, there's no need to go public. Public is out raising money and a few other items. And I think for us at Cantor, we're really special, private, and we get to commit to something. We get to move fast. We get to be mobile and be efficient. Less bureaucracy. But again, we have an incredible leadership team, and we run like a public one, but move like a private one.
And we should point out, I mean, right now you have 3 co-CEOs, one who heads equities, one who heads fixed income, and then, as you mentioned, Sage Kelly there with the investment banking business. Do you plan to keep that 3-tiered co-CEO structure?
There are 3 superstars, so I see no reason to change it.
Yeah.
SPAC deals. You have, Cantor Fitzgerald has always been a leader in that space, and we've seen a resurgence in SPAC deals. In fact, when you look at the number of IPOs we've had this year, more than half have been SPACs. What is actually driving that resurgence? Is that a regulatory easing, or is that just maybe just more risk appetite out there?
Cantor has always been a big believer in SPACs. Before the SPAC boom in 2021, we were the #1 player in the space. During the boom, we fell down off of #1 because a lot of companies were going public. And now post-boom, we're back to being the #1 player in the space. It's always been an industry we've thought about and cared about, and always thought brought tremendous value. And you're seeing it again today. And I think what it allows is for us to be creative and thoughtful in how we help companies. And you've seen that with 21 Capital and BSCR to Bitcoin Treasuries, and hopefully a few more.
What's the health of the SPAC industry today relative to what it was after we came out of that boom in 2021, 2022, and things started to taper off?
I think it's very strong. Look, I can't comment on how long an industry lasts, but I really believe in our franchise, and when you see it, our SPACs tend to trade above 10, and that's because they believe that we're going to find the right companies and do it in the right way. And I think so far we've proven it, and I hope to keep growing. And again, our guys, our leadership, they do an incredible job of really seeing that through and executing at a very high level.
We do a really good job of attracting great talent here. And so again, it really is a testament to the leadership and our guys that are working the floors and the phones every single day, hitting it hard and getting us opportunities.
How hard is it to find talent? Or I guess more importantly, how hard is it to sort of fend off your competitors from taking that talent as well? I know Sage Kelly has talked a lot about expanding the IB business and also maybe changing the pay structure, or offering a pay structure, I should say, that's different than your competitors.
I think talent's always tough to find, but when you have the right culture and the right environment, it becomes a lot easier. I mean, again, this crowd today, these guys are not taking a day's pay, and they're giving it all to charity, and that shows something. That's 24 years ago. Some of these guys weren't born yet. We were young. To be honest, I don't really remember the day, but I wear this 9/11 bracelet every day. Been wearing it for over 10 years. It says honor and remember, and I think that's exactly what we're doing today. We're honoring those we lost and remembering them.
Part of the big issue, or the crux of why this day is so important to us is of the 658 loss. You had a lot of pairs of family members. You had brothers. You had fathers, sons, mothers, and aunts. All working here on that day, and our father would always say, you have a spectrum of friends. You've got the friends that you go out with and they make you laugh really hard. You've got the other set of friends that you find are really intelligent, you can have good long conversations with. And we want to try to hire those types of people. And so that's sort of why the culture here is really incredible, is you want to show up and you want to work with people that you like and people that you get along with. And that's sort of the culture that we're trying to drive here.
I mean, how much do you interact with your father on a business basis?
Not at all.
No.
It's a little sad actually, because we used to see him 12 hours a day every single day, and now I see him for a weekend, but we still talk. I mean, he's, even with everything going on, he's still an incredible father.
Has his connections to the Trump administration helped your business?
No.
Not at all?
I mean, it's not supposed to help, right? Like we are a franchise regardless of his seat. We are a business that's built regardless of where he is. I mean, look, when you lose Howard Lutnick in the business, there's obviously a gaping hole, but we together, along with our executive team, are trying to fill that hole, and you see it today. I mean, we're having an awesome year, and honestly, we're hoping today's a record charity day.
Yeah, we feel good about that.
Have there been conversations, though, about how to avoid potential conflicts of interest, given your father's role at the Commerce Department? Any firewalls set up just to sort of make sure that everything sort of stays above board?
I mean, I think we are as perfect and ethically compliant as one can be, and our father's not a guy who takes risks. So I think from both sides we keep that very clean and sharp. But our fathers, when you get called to serve for your country, you take the call, and we're incredibly proud of everything he's doing.
Very, very proud of him. Yeah.
When it comes to some of the policies coming out of Washington, there has been a deregulatory bent to that to a certain extent. And this is particularly evident in the world of digital assets and crypto. You've made a couple of big deals already. I think you mentioned 21 Capital just a second ago, Brandon. Obviously, the deal with Adam Back, which I believe should be coming to fruition by the end of this year. And of course, you've been either an underwriter or an advisor on several crypto-related IPOs and SPACs.
This administration really cares about America. I think they're very, just like they are and we are very bullish on the digital asset industry. And you need to give these companies a regulatory framework to survive, to flourish. Under the past administration, that didn't really exist. And this administration, is smart, thoughtful, and caring, and they really believe in this industry. And so do we. So does Cantor. And they're just giving them a place to thrive, and our job's to help them out.
Just yesterday, I think the OCC commissioner, the Office of Comptroller of the Currency, was at a CoinDesk event, and he kind of talked about this idea of trying to sort of remove some of the barriers between, I guess, the new digital world and more traditional banks and asset managers. The idea that there was a sort of a regulatory friction in the middle of that. Are you confident that maybe we will see more of a melding of traditional finance and new finance?
I mean, you'd imagine. Look, I think the digital world can bring a lot to the traditional finance world. You talk about payments in seconds, frictionless. You talk about remittances. You talk about the tokenization of real world assets. Being able to trade 24/7. I mean, these are things that with the technology we have should happen, and I think this industry is going to be hugely successful. And again, big believers.
What is sort of the model, though, that you look for as you pursue digital assets? I mean, are you primarily looking at it as a buy and hold from a treasury perspective? Are you looking at it more as the underlying technology and what's that could sort of do in sort of reducing some of those frictions?
I mean, we're an investment bank, so our job is to meet great companies, meet great leadership, and help them accomplish their goals. That's really what I look for. But that's the same from healthcare to tech to FIG to industrial to digital, right? Like. We look for great leadership, we look for great teams, we look for great business models, we look for incredible company, and our job is just to partner and stand next to them and help them accomplish their goals.
You mentioned the idea of remittances and really just the idea of the transfer of money. Stablecoins have finally kind of made it into the spotlight. How involved are you there? And more importantly, where do you see it going? Do you think that it will broaden out beyond just some of the small players we have, and it will become much more institutionalized within corporate America and even maybe potentially within governments?
I mean, we hope so. Obviously we have a very close relationship with the largest stablecoin in the world, Tether. They're an incredible company run by incredible guys, and everything they've been through, they deserve the world. I think the concept of stablecoins is clearly something that should exist across the world. I mean, you allow people in emerging markets to gain access to the U.S. dollar. It's dollarizing the world. It's dollar hegemony, and that is really incredible for the United States of America.
With regards to tokenization, Vlad Tenev over at Robinhood, he basically says this is the future one way or the other. How does that look paired up with traditional finance in the traditional way that we would buy a stock or a bond or other asset? Is that going to coexist side by side, or is that potentially a situation where tokenization would replace the more traditional system?
I mean, I think it's a bit strange and should be fixed that, if a huge event were to happen on a Saturday or a Sunday, Bitcoin would go up and down, but the classic traditional stocks, you have to wait till Monday morning. That is something that should get fixed. So I agree in the tokenization of being able to trade 24/7, but again, that's not really our perfect stratosphere.
I do want to get your thoughts just on the state of New York City. Obviously, you have a big real estate business through a new mark. We're going through a big mayoral election here in New York that could reshape policies towards the real estate industry. Have you had a chance at all to meet with any of the front runners in this mayoral election?
I think we've kept a little bit of a distance so far, but we love Mayor Adams, we love Cuomo, Ramdani. We have not had the pleasure of meeting yet, but I think we have a lot of views that are different to Ramdani. We're a very pro-Israel group here, especially on 9/11. Talk about the terrorist attack, talk about if they had a chance to do it again, would they? And I think that's something that's really meaningful for us today to remember and never forget. And I haven't had the ability to speak to him, but
New York is really an incredible city. It's a very strong and resilient city, and I believe cities have live energy throughout them. They ebb and flow through different parts of their timeline and their growth.
Yeah.
And New York is very strong and resilient, as we've seen through 9/11, as you can see on the trading floor behind us. And so whatever happens come November, New York will be fine.
You have faith long term in the office market here in New York City?
I buy and hold on New York for sure.
Buy and hold on New York. Just final question here, and this really has to do with the idea of where you see sort of the biggest risks going forward, not just for yourself, but really overall for markets, and how you see maybe Cantor fitting into that and maybe potentially addressing it.
I think the biggest risk, I don't honestly see too many risks, to be honest. I mean, this is an administration I really, really believe in. And when you have the smartest people in the room, the smartest businessmen in DC, things get done. Obviously, we think the world of our father, but that whole administration, the president, he's really, made promises and stuck to them. And, I'm incredibly, incredibly bullish and incredibly appreciative for their service and all the work they've done. And even more appreciative for the guys behind me. So,
one of the biggest projects that we're thinking about is the data center space and the energy grid of America. And one of the biggest risks that I see is people moving too quickly or making rash decisions to try to get ahead of the curve early and often. And so, what I would say is take a second, breathe, and come and talk to some of the most intelligent people on Wall Street and see if you can get a second or third opinion before you make your move. There's so many variables and so many factors when making any decisions in any of these markets, and making sure you get your second or third opinion is crucial.